Hey, Emma.
Yes, Malin.
What do you call a section of the filmography of a sort of famous dashing actor, including An Officer and a Gentleman and The Hunting Party?
Sure. Is that the end of the question?
Yeah, what do you call that part of this actor's filmography?
What do you call it?
You call it Gears of War. Hello and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I can't believe Emma got that joke before the punchline. I thought it was pretty weak, host Madeline.
I did not. I missed the end of your question.
Oh, never mind. The vibe you gave was, oh, I get it. It's Richard Gere.
Yeah, sure.
Where he plays characters associated with war. Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Did you already introduce yourself?
I said, I can't believe Emma got that joke, host Madeline, but then she didn't.
Sorry.
Chaos happening
locked. I'm stun locked by the intro.
Yeah.
I'm your living in the 90s. No, I'm not. I'm not that old. Host Emma.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. This week we're talking about Gears of War and Mixtape. Both nostalgic in very different ways.
I certainly was sent on a blast from the past in looking through some of the Gears stuff that I did.
Yes. And then everything about Mixtape is a blast from the past, really.
Yeah.
Every portion of what we will talk about feels...
It's a nostalgia week here, I guess, on Talk This.
So Gears of War, cue the siren sounds of Mad World.
Yeah,
playing.
I really am surprised that I haven't put this in the hat before, because maybe it's just my Xbox bias of
yeah.
We did not have an Xbox in childhood, but Gears is, if not always like the biggest series that Xbox had, certainly now is their biggest still existing series that is exclusive for Microsoft. Briefly unexclusive, but now exclusive again.
Clawed back to exclusivity.
Yeah.
So yes, Gears has always been eligible to be a Talk This old game. Mm-hmm. Hence the surprise that it only just now pops up. And we've talked about it. I know we've talked about that Mad World advertisement.
We did a trailer side quest definitely once, so I'm sure we talked about Mad World then.
But Gears of War is a 2006 third-person shooter from Epic, back when Epic wasn't just a Fortnite and game store studio. Yes, just kidding.
It's now managed by the Coalition, mostly. Yeah. With other developers coming on to make spin-offs and stuff as well.
Yeah. And it was originally an Xbox 360 exclusive. They released a Windows port to some small bit of controversy about a year later, where they added, in the days where your port to a different platform could still have new content added to it, that you didn't have to give to the original platform. People were still pissed. But funny to think about now. Anyway, this the original one has been re-released twice on like 10th and 20th anniversaries, basically. A remastered edition came out in 2015, and then they did another updated remaster of it in 2025, where, as Emma referenced, they also released it for the first time on Steam and for PlayStation 5. But now, new one coming back to just Xbox.
Yeah, it was very funny reading a review of the 2025 one on Kotaku, and they're saying like maybe that, you know, as much of a sign that the console wars are over.
We're bringing them back, baby.
We're bringing them back, but the competition this time is who can die faster.
Yeah. Who can kill off what would make people want their console?
Yeah.
Can we shed the studios that we like fast enough? Can we get rid of the discs that people want?
Who can
we put the prices so high that everyone is disappointed? What an exciting time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Gears of War had relatively steady sequels released through Gears 5 in 2019, and now finally there is another Gears prequel. This time it's not Gears 6, which people are really seemingly kind of disappointed about. Although excitement to see Gears emerge.
Yeah, they're going back to Marcus and Dom.
The homies.
Yeah. Gears 1 through 3 is like a full trilogy.
Yes.
Featuring Marcus and Dom and other characters, but those are like the main two. Mel can give the lore corner a little bit later, I guess.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And then Gears 4 and 5 skip ahead like 25 years and follows, I think, Marcus's son and other characters. So it's a sequel, but it's like Gears 4 is sort of a new jumping on point.
That's
in a way.
So Gears most known and plenty of retrospective articles that are kind of like, wow, it's weird to go back and play this because of all that's come after it.
Mm-hmm.
But Gears of War was really very innovative and get excited. It does make an appearance on the Wikipedia Greatest Games of All Time list.
Woo!
Always love to see it.
Yeah.
Most recent one is still Elden Ring. Or no, sorry, it's not Elden Ring. Baldur's Gate 3, by the way.
The Elden Ring's not on there yet.
Elden Ring is on there.
Baldur's Gate 3 is newer than Elden Ring.
Correct.
Man.
I know.
Does that count the early access release?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Some questionable stuff on there. I don't know that we're going to feel that Animal Crossing New Horizons was the greatest game. I mean, a most impactful game of all time. Certainly.
Yeah. Certainly made it an influential. It's memorable, right?
I respect its inclusion on the list for that reason. However, I don't know that anyone would even agree it is the best Animal Crossing game of all time.
Historically significant Animal Crossing.
Correct. Anyway, Gears of War appears on that list both because it was incredibly, like, a real showcase of the power of the Xbox 360 graphically at the time, but also for really revolutionizing the cover shooter genre that has now become, spawned a million follow-up games.
Mm-hmm.
And also for its chainsaw bayonet.
Yes. They really love to talk about that chainsaw bayonet.
Did you read the Bill Gates anecdote?
No.
So I don't know is the doc that you watched the lead up to E3 one?
That was in there, yeah.
Okay, so apparently in there, or
that was near the end, so I was maybe spacing out a little bit at that point. But
that's fair.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, this is an era of weird promo for games. And a few contemporaneous reviews that were sort of like, oh my god, the 18-month hype cycle on the way to this. Like, did it, how could it live up to this? The Eurogamer piece was structured around, well, is this game so innovative? Are you so tired of being told how revolutionary this game is going to be? Could it possibly live up to the hype? So, we've learned nothing, really. Mm-hmm. But basically in that, as part of the promo, they had a 30-minute doc about the lead up to E3. And apparently, Xbox exec Peter Moore wanted to take so probably Gears' most iconic weapon is a rifle that has, for its little bayonet, a chainsaw. Easily the most iconic weapon featured in the series. Mm-hmm. And Xbox executive Peter Moore apparently wanted to take that out of the E3 demo. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, they didn't do that, which led to Bill Gates confiding to one of the developers, "I love that chainsaw."
Yes, if I may paraphrase them talking about the chainsaw from... I think I watched the MTV documentary, which I think included some of the lead up to E3. They're talking about the chainsaw is sort of, symbolic of the intimate violence that we want Gears of War to showcase. And I feel like they're not understanding or championing the messaging that we want here on Gears of War. They really old Cliffy B or whatever they call him. Really wanted that chainsaw. That is all he talks about in the dock is the chainsaw, the gun chainsaw. He really wants the gun chainsaw. If you can't throw a grenade, that's fine. We need the gun with the chainsaw.
And to be honest, he was right. Like, I just can't. You don't read any piece about Gears. There's a whole piece about Gears 4 that I read, I think also on Kotaku, where the writer was like, I'm so annoyed that this game keeps taking away my chainsaw gun.
Yeah.
It's iconic. So good on Cliff for hanging on, sticking to his guns, as it were. Anyway, you may be wondering what actually happens in Gears of War. Well, pull up a chair to Madeline's lore corner. You know, I'm sure ultimately these games are not actually similar, but in reading about the lore for Gears of War, which is satisfying to say, that phrase, it did remind me somewhat of a favorite series of mine, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah, I was thinking that in some of the descriptions of it.
I was like, oh, it sort of is, you know, it's about a righteous man who gets out of prison.
They're about macho yet sad men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With close male friendships.
Yeah.
There's death.
Mm-hmm.
Working for organizations that don't have the greater good in mind. Anyway, in Gears of War is set on like sort of alternate Earth, probably, let's say. Sarah. Which, like, sci-fi planet, kind of ruled by two different governments, the Union of Independent Republics and the Coalition of Ordered Governments, that is to say, COG, hence Gears of War. Get it? So those two nations were at war for almost a century before the game started, over emulsion, which is like super sci-fi gasoline, and they'd finally come to a truce when suddenly, out of nowhere, a locust horde emerges from the underground tunnels on this planet and basically kills everybody. And they call this E-Day, and this is what the prequel game is sort of about that's coming in October. So lots of people die. They manage to evacuate some people someplace to a part of the planet where the horde can't get to. And Marcus, around this time, tries to do some kind of rescue mission for someone. He does something against orders as a soldier, and he gets thrown in jail. Flash forward, 14 years later, Marcus is released from prison because they're pardoning a bunch of soldiers because too many people have died. They can't have soldiers in prison. They've got to send them out to die, right? Mm-hmm. And he reunites with his buddy Dom, who's like his best friend throughout the whole trilogy. You know, I was gonna like even saying spoilers right here, right now, probably, unfortunately, is too much. But you know, it's war out there, and there's moment in Gears 3, which is sometimes held up as one of the sadder moments in gaming. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, Gears 1 is all about, like, they basically have this, like, big new space nuke that they want to use to destroy all the locusts, and the game is all about trying to figure out the right place to put the space nuke so that it does that. And they pretty much managed to do it, but because this is a successful series, they don't actually manage to do it. And so basically all these Gears games are like, we have a new super weapon, let's kill the locusts, or let's kill the mutated locusts, or whatever. And then they do that, but like not enough, and the cycle of war continues. And also bad things happen to the people who are left behind.
Yeah, well the vibes are similar to Yakuza. I see that. I think that Gears' storytelling ambitions, while they have grown as time has passed, is certainly not as high.
No, I was just like, in the overlapping themes,
yeah,
the general, like, at least under the surface attitudes to the machismo, in contrast to maybe what the actual gameplay is, the fresh out of the clink protagonist. Just, I was like, interesting to notice some parallels here.
Yeah. Also very inspired by Resident Evil 4. I assume that's where the chainsaw came from.
Sure.
They saw Leon Kennedy get sliced in half by a chainsaw and was like, what if Leon Kennedy had the chainsaw, though?
Yeah.
Something it took until Resident Evil 9 for Capcom to get a handle on. That you should give Leon Kennedy the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like I said, it was cutting edge, haha, for the time. So no wonder it took other studios a little while to catch up. It's also Gears 1, a relatively short game for what you might expect for this genre. It's only about 8 to 10 hours, but is probably like most beloved for its multiplayer.
Yeah,
you can play it as a co-op campaign, but also there's online modes, there's PvP modes, and a lot of really kind of like, to the theme of nostalgia here, a lot of kind of warm and fuzzy memory pieces that I read of people being like, I used to play this with my roommate. I used to go over to my friend's apartment and play it after work. I used to get online with my friends and play it. So it will be interesting to see. They've, made a bigger multiplayer mode than ever before, apparently, for this Gears prequel, to see if that still kind of reaches people in the same way.
Mm-hmm. You may know, they've introduced E-Day with this song as well. But the Gears of War trailer is quite famous for its very haunting rendition of Mad World.
Yes.
That plays over the war-torn streets. I did read a Guardian piece about this. And I should say, Cliffy B, he was 31, so you can't even call this a midlife crisis. He was having a quarter-life crisis.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that 30 is a quarter life crisis.
Or a third life crisis, even, let's say. And so...
Great. I saw this quoted somewhere too. I know what you're talking about. Go on.
He's talked a lot. He was listening to Mad World and also Evanescence's My Immortal on a mixed CD in his car a lot.
Oh, look at that parallel there. Okay.
Yeah. And he's written about his marriage was failing over the course of this, and I believe they got divorced over the course of development, and then he dated a 19-year-old briefly, as featured in the MTV documentary.
Awesome. I'm sure he loves that's immortalized.
The direct quote, I'm a young 31 and she's an old 19, so we're good.
Awesome.
Anyway, they break up even before the game comes out. That is also in the documentary.
Great.
But yeah, so why did I write this? Oh, he made a monster called the Berserker that's based on his wife. And he says there's a reason why the Berserker is angry and blind, which I do not know the specifics of this guy's divorce. I did not look into it. But things you shouldn't tell people for 500, Alex. Anyway, the trailer being set to Mad World was apparently entirely coincidental. He didn't tell them to use it.
Oh, really? I saw something to the contrary. That's funny.
At least in this Guardian piece, he's quoted as saying, I never asked them to use it. Somehow it came through. So
even better. I must have read something that digested that and just made the connection. That's funny. I'm gonna come out hot take. I do think more people should be making video games about their exes and nemesis. It's a well-worn musical genre, right? Let's see more of that in games. Let's see more of that messiness. I'd welcome it.
Sure, but yeah, this was
But yeah, that's crazy. It's a wild thing to say.
The MTV documentary really was like a time capsule back to a period of game development. Also featured young, comparatively, Tim Sweeney.
Awesome.
He says, I bought a big house because I had money, but I don't really use it. So he was showing the cameras around his big house that he doesn't use. And said, this is my dining room. I've never eaten here.
Great.
He also has, a nice Lamborghini, and he says, this is good because you do have to drive to work. So I can use it.
That's so cool. Well, Gears of War made a lot of money.
Yes.
Sold like 3 million copies in a couple months or something like that. And, it does make you wonder why they left it and did nothing with it for 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, what was Xbox doing for 7 years? That's the real question. Nothing.
They bought a bunch of studios and let them all go before they actually put any games out.
Yeah.
Game Pass really big in that time, and then not big.
Yeah. I think Double Fine put out 1 game.
You're right.
2. No, they did the Lighthouse game and the Pottery game. That were Xbox exclusives.
Big sellers, bangers, right there.
I think all the other studios didn't release anything exclusive to Xbox while they were owned by Xbox.
So good gaming business things during those 7 years, for sure.
Yeah.
It was interesting to read some of the retrospectives on Gears of War, both for the incredible fondness toward the kind of co-op experiences people had together, but I enjoyed, or I was sort of taken by there was a Kotaku article on the Ultimate Edition, where they say, playing the first Gears of War after all this time feels similar to pulling out an NES to play a classic, which is funny given that not too long ago, Gears of War was as cutting edge as video games could get. Obviously it's still great, but it does feel dated given that industry trends have kind of left the original Gears of War behind.
Yeah. The remastered original ones do bring in some features from like later in the series.
Yeah.
Gears of War 3 seems to be considered sort of the peak by a lot of the people I read. But they didn't bring in everything. So in a way it's still like a lot of the reviews I read of that was like, well, yeah, but I could also play Gears of War 3.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they've never really revolutionized their game after the first time. It was just more Gears, which is perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not, I assume there's a reason why they haven't tried to like remaster 2 really or anything, because it's like, why? You can just play the later ones. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, hold your horses because you are going to be able to jump for the first time in the prequel. Okay, so this is against their ethos. Direct quote from the MTV documentary: "There's no jumping in war." Okay? Awesome. They sold out.
This is about the intimate violence of the chainsaw. and the gory headshots. Okay? And there's no jumping when you're doing that.
Well, it doesn't even make canonical sense. Like, they forgot how to jump.
Yeah. Well, these guys are also, to be fair, these guys are pretty bulky. They're, wide guys.
Yeah.
So I do imagine, like, when you are that bulky and heavy, and muscled up, I wonder if jumping is hard on your knees.
I mean, definitely, but this is war.
You're right.
You know what else is hard on your knees? A chainsaw.
True.
So, I'll take a little bit of, impact, wear and tear on my knees over no calves.
Yeah, true. They also crunched on Gears, which they feature unashamedly in the documentary, which was another thing that's like, I mean, I know all game studios still crunch, but they have some, shame about it now.
Yeah. They feel a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's an interesting challenge you bring up about how to deal with gameplay improvements when you're remastering the first. I mean, another way that this is not Yakuza, right?
Yeah.
Is you would sort of think these games are not that long. Not to be like, oh, you would sort of think you do triple the work. Why not? But you would sort of think, oh, like maybe you remaster the whole first trilogy and put that out. And then at least like particularly interesting, I think, for a game like Gears, whose history and nostalgic fondness for people is so much about like me and my buddy would just play this after we got back from class all the time, and it's not really about like there's nostalgia for some elements of the story for sure. Like I think people the like Marcus Dom characters and the relationship and like the arc of that trilogy, you know, it's not that it doesn't have any story. It's not the fondness that people, I'm going to say this as someone who doesn't play these games, it's not the fondness that people have of, oh, I went home with my buddies and played Modern Warfare or whatever. There's a little bit more context to it. But an interesting challenge to sort of be like, well, ideally I would actually remaster the third one because that's the best, but I can't just put the third one out.
Yeah.
And like maybe the first one, the balance goes way wonky if I'm allowed to slide or whatever the improvements they added. So like tricky if you don't think the audience wants all three. Perhaps a reason is to just make an actual new one. Who could say?
Yeah. Well, anything else for Gears of War?
I mean, I'll be interested to see if they now really go on. I mean, what does Microsoft have, right? So it'd be interesting to see the response to the new one.
Yeah. Of which the PS5 version was apparent, like, because that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
So the PS5 version was very far along when they told it.
Yeah.
Which is just fascinating to think about.
Well, I hope that works out for them. It's interesting. It's like there's no way that a Gears of War prequel is a killer app, right? There's just no way.
I mean, you know, it's a very popular series, but it does feel like a series of like, well, yeah, if you have always had an Xbox because that's the console you've always had, then yeah, you're probably excited for it. But like, there's lots of people that's not the case for, right?
Yeah. It's just an interesting economic proposition, right? Because you're sacrificing selling to the PlayStation audience and betting on that it sells some consoles. But like, if this is just people like this game because they like playing it with their buddies.
Yeah. So
why don't I just get the one that you put out a year ago?
Yeah.
I mean, no jumping. That's why.
Yeah.
So
I mean that is a big deal. I do like a jump button.
I don't think they can jump in Mixtape. I don't think there's very much jumping that happens.
No, there's not very much free motion in Mixtape.
Whoa, well, forget it. It's not even a video game then.
Oh my god. Okay. We're talking about Mixtape now?
Yeah.
Mixtape that came out during like those 3 months when people were deranged about video games online for some reason.
Those 3 months.
Particularly, maybe I should say.
Okay, so Mixtape is an adventure game from Beethoven and Dinosaur, which is a small Australian studio. It's for modern consoles. It's not for OG Switch. I would have gotten this to play. I'm like, in the end, sort of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's really going to be for me. But I would have gotten this to play if it was on the OG Switch, because it seems like something I could have played on my commute and had a decent time with. But it's only on the Switch 2. Why? Surely this is a game that doesn't only have to be on the Switch 2. It's barely a game! Just kidding. Anyway, it's published by Annapurna Interactive, which
Industry
will come back in a lot of ways.
Baby.
Yeah.
Can't believe this.
AstroTurfed. Side note, I sort of didn't realize Annapurna Interactive was still around.
It is, yes.
I thought that was over a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. They lost a lot of their employees. At the time, they said something about, like, well, the current projects are still being supported. I don't know if Mixtape was a current project then, or if they've restaffed themselves after everybody quit, or whatever. So, I don't know.
So let's talk about Mixtape the game.
Yes.
Before we talk about the everything else. There's somehow so much else.
Have you seen a John Hughes movie?
It's basically that.
but with music.
There's music in John Hughes movies. Would you believe it?
more essentially about music. The gimmick of Mixtape is there's a track list, and each song like sort of corresponds to like a discrete level, which is like sort of a vignette in a day in the life of three teenagers. And there's small minigame elements that happen across each of these, but the songs are entirely, like, it really goes through it like it is a mixtape, essentially, with very small breaks in between those.
And this is a game, as Emma alluded to at the beginning of the show, that's set vaguely in the 90s. Not vaguely, it's definitely set in the 90s, but it's not set specifically in 1994 or something like that.
It's very consciously anachronistic, I think. Which we can talk about that more later.
Yeah, I have some beef with some of Luke Plunkett's aftermath analysis. Did you read that article?
I did, I think. Maybe.
Like, I appreciated his take, and I was also sort of like, I feel like some of your central thesis here is incorrect. I actually don't think it's for you, buddy. But we can circle back to that. Yes, it's set in the 90s, although is it perhaps set more in the TikTok's fascination with the 90s now? I would say yes, which is fine. Plenty of games are set in whatever social media's fascination with 20 to 30 years ago. You know, that's just kind of how it is. But yeah, it's like relatively low stakes teen drama. Like Emma said, a John Hughes movie.
Yes. So, Stacy, the main character, is going to New York to pursue her dreams spontaneously.
She's had an opportunity arise, perhaps.
Yes.
Professionally, to become a music producer.
And her two friends, she wants to spend this last day with her two friends with the perfect mixtape, having like teenage experiences. But they had a pre-existing plan to drive their friend Cass down to college, that Stacy is now like sort of ditching on. And so there's a bit of tension there in regards to like saying goodbye to these people without, fulfilling prior promises before you go.
And in the end, spoiler, it all kind of works out okay.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Big notable thing about Mixtape is it has real licensed music.
Yes,
they've apparently worked out in perpetuity.
Yeah, they refuse to compromise on. There's no streamer mode for Mixtape.
So it's a good thing this game got plenty of press anyway.
Yes.
Didn't really need the streamers, did you?
But yeah, because all of the levels are structured around the song, and Stacy talks about the song and what she wants it to bring to things beforehand. They did not think that trying to do a streamer mode, like, I think they said, like, it'd be like it's the soul of the game.
Yeah.
If we put in a streamer mode, you'd just be playing, like, a soulless version of the game. I do, however, think it'd be very funny to make a version that's just silent.
Yeah.
I do love it when streamer modes, like in the Life is Strange games, just like do not replace the music and you just hear like their squeaking shoes on the floor. It's pretty good.
I found some of the discussion critique of what music was included to be, I don't even know how to describe it. I was like, it was interesting. On one hand, I was compelled by it. On the other hand, I was like, well, people do have like sort of their own specific tastes. Like, this is definitely a mixtape that skews towards sort of a British new wave sensibility.
It's all quite in the same genre.
Yeah.
When of course there were the very white genre.
Yeah.
When of course there was various popular stuff in the 90s. I saw some complaints of like, Stacy talks about she's always records MTV, so she's up on the latest stuff, but all the music she listens to is old. Which with that, I was like, well, that she's doing research. Like, she wants to know what's popular, but she still has probably her own preferences. And in fact, because she records MTV all the time, she's probably super snobby, actually, in her music taste. I felt like I was more sympathetic to, like, critique that was talking about, like, well, her two friends are described to have their own distinct music taste.
Right. Metalhead, one of them.
And that's never, she plays her mixtape through without problems, right?
Yeah.
They never get to insert their own songs into the narrative, which I think I see that as a critique, especially since Stacey is not. She's a little abrasive.
Sure. Two critiques that resonated with me. One, I drew from a comment on that Luke Plunkett piece that I was reading, which is very specific, which is to say, to be a sort of music snob in the 90s and have Nirvana appear not once on your mixtape is too much suspension of disbelief.
That's true.
Which I was like, and all of this with the umbrella of, you wonder what the actual dream playlist was for this game.
Right. Yes.
Obviously, negotiating music rights for games is a notorious challenge. And so the fact that they are able to have 20 plus tracks of reasonably recognizable, period accurate music at all.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
The Green Yuri adaptation will have Nirvana as its opening song. And so they're not close to. I mean, maybe it had to be Yuri. They're like, Kurt wouldn't want anything else. You'd only put his
Dave and Chris put their heads together and they were like, all right, this seems fine.
But if they could get it, I think that maybe Nirvana was not on the table in their discussions.
Fair enough. The second critique that I can't necessarily speak to, but I feel like did come up in a few of the, like, I'm a 40-something white guy and, like, this is my music, basically, was people saying, this is a music playlist, and I don't think this is wrong, but it feeds interestingly into some of the critiques of the anachronisms or the vaguely 90s aesthetic of it all in general, is like, this is a 90s playlist you would put together on Spotify, basically. Of these are weird songs, these are not the hits, it involves like nothing that would have been like popular, and even some stuff that wouldn't necessarily like be the music snobs thing. And I can't speak to the veracity of that at all. But that critique was interesting to me, of people saying, I understand what this is trying to do. It's okay that the Backstreet Boys aren't on it. Maybe that's too late anyway. It's okay that whatever, pick your like actual 90s pop radio act isn't on it. It's okay that it skews towards someone's like white tastes, whatever. But that actually wouldn't even be the mixtape that person had. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about, I think I was reading, I don't know if this is the same piece, but there's a piece on Aftermath about, like, just, like, all the stuff happening around Mixtape.
I read that one, too. It was a different one. Yeah.
And, like, there was one point that, like, this is a game that is quite targeted at the 40-something white guy. And because there's no money in games journalism, that's who's writing the reviews right now. And that's not really Mixtape's fault specifically, right? Like that's more of a societal thing that has happened. Of that's just who is established in that space right now and who is writing reviews. And obviously, it's a problem that there isn't more diversity of opinions in the reviewing space. So I get the backlash of like, this is very white. Especially because the goal and what seems to be part of the reason why it has anachronisms is it's trying to speak to like a universality of experience. And while Cass, the character, is, I believe, biracial of some sort, it's quite white, right? In its music selection, in its characters, in its setting. John Hughes stuff, obviously, quite white. And it does feel like trying to make that now and saying well, this is a universal experience, feels a little tone deaf, right? If it was something that was more specific,
Right.
I feel like I would have less problem with it being that way.
If they were really trying to be, and I don't mean this exactly how it's going to sound at first. If they were trying to be period accurate in a certain way, there are many ways to be period accurate, but like there's definitely a 90s teen experience where you are a white kid in a mostly white town with mostly white friends listening to mostly white music.
Yeah.
Like that's an experience plenty of people had. And like you can definitely make that game. But you're right that the fact that they are not adhering to something, the lack of specificity does make that like a defense that you can't really lean on.
Yeah.
In the same way. So probably the worst thing that could happen to this game is that IGN gave it a 10.
Yep. Specifically, IGN gave it a 10 after giving Crimson Desert, like, I don't remember, a 5 or a 6.
I think it was an 8. There was some other game that got a 5 or a 6. I think it may have been an 8. Maybe it was
how
a
dare
6,
they?
but it was an even number, and I think it was 8.
Well, that's worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
How dare they give Crimson Desert an 8? Crimson Desert being a game we saw at PAX a few times. I was sort of vaguely aware that it was like a big release that a lot of people were looking forward to, but it was not in my orbit at all.
No impact on me at all.
And it got very mixed, middling reviews from critics, and a lot of very online gamers were quite upset about that. And then Mixtape came out pretty soon afterwards, and it got like all 10s.
That's not even true.
At first, it got like all 10s. As reviews coming out, it was like, wow, people love this game. Or, 9s and 10s, whatever.
That's what I mean. Not everything was a 10. IGN was a 10. A lot of 9s. I think if IGN had been a 9...
Critiques of the game started coming out later, right? But the initial wave was very popular. And I think that these people saw this game getting praise when their game that they had chosen to wrap their identity around had gotten mez. It's, got that sort of Life is Strange woke aesthetic in the way it looks. It's a short
the IGN article
game.
makes reference to Edith Finch, which is just reverse dog whistle bad. Why? Don't do it.
It's not a challenging game. There's no fail state in Mixtape. And this made them very mad. And so
it's barely even a game.
They went a little stir crazy online about this game. What do you think? Does a game need to have a fail state to be a game?
No.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I seem to be like, well, I could just not touch the controller and the game would just keep going. And it's like, yeah, you could deny yourself fun. And good for you.
Well, I think even that's different. I might argue that you have to be able to touch the control, like do something touching the controller for it to be a game. But that doesn't have to mean it has to have a fail state. Like, you still have to press buttons.
Yeah. I mean, I believe, like, it mostly runs through stuff, even if you aren't interacting with it, but in a way that's not intended, right? Like,
yeah,
you are purposely choosing not to engage and make the experience bad for yourself.
Yeah.
So, that's on you, fella.
Yeah, so, like, yeah, one prong of the critique is it's a walking simulator.
Yeah. Basically,
which I really thought we got over that. I really thought we were done with that.
I mean, I think generally we have, but it is an easy fallback to go on for when someone is mad and they just need to be mad about something.
And then there's also the insane prong that because it was published by a company that is sort of ultimately owned by a billionaire, that...
A company that has been around in one form or another for like a decade now.
Yeah, like not the first game from Annapurna.
No.
Not a game made by the Ellis, like that the Ellisons made, just a game published. I think it was that Aftermath piece that said, or I can't remember where I read this. It was something that's like, look, like the Ellison family, especially as you go further up to the dad, right? Like does use their money for causes that you may not agree with.
Yeah.
And like if you decided you didn't want to buy this game because you didn't want to even indirectly fund that, like that would be a valid stance.
Yes.
Can do that with anything.
But they started using like astroturfing and industry plant. Which, like, where did they get... I'm so curious where they picked these words up from for this. I know those are existing words, but I've never seen them applied to games before.
Well, and like, what would that even mean in the context of a game? It's easy to understand to a certain extent what that means in the music industry, right? Like, I can understand what it means that someone is a sort of secret Nepo baby, or that there's like way more money behind something seeming like an indie outlet, or like having a groundswell of public support than actually it being organic, right? I understand what that would mean in that case. But games, like, what would that be? That it's like a fake indie title? This did not make a secret of the fact that it was published by Annapurna.
Yeah. I guess maybe astroturfing is just a new way to say that journalists were paid off.
Right.
An industry plant, just like, I guess it's just people who don't understand how indie works now.
Yeah.
Like, looking at it and being like, this has money, it's not an indie game. It's like, yeah, wake up. It's been like that for a while.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how they were using it. It doesn't quite work in this context.
No.
And obviously journalists are not being paid off too. They're being sent codes in advance, I guess.
Yeah. But the third prong here is, I don't know, it all trades on this idea that an IGN 10 out of 10 even really means anything.
Yeah.
Anymore.
It's that sort of thing where, like, simultaneously in your head, you have to believe that IGN is like this hugely powerful entity that can swing the fate of a game, and also that they're hack frauds.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I just don't understand. I mean, whatever. It's the same. We went from Gamergate to Make America Great Again to this is just more Gamergate stuff. But, like, I just don't understand how people hold those two things in their head. That, like, people are incompetent, but also, you know, or, like, I don't know.
So that someone is incompetent and they also hold tremendous power?
Yeah, that's not
I have
quite,
a sense of how they might hold that.
That's not quite what I meant. But yeah, I was saying that, I was like, no, that's not actually what I mean. That they're, like, irrelevant and also hugely relevant at the same time. You have to believe.
And it's interesting, of course, to think about what is the actual impact of game reviews these days. Obviously, when something comes out and it gets 6 out of 10s, that does have an impact. And when something comes out and it does get 10 out of 10s, that has an impact. That's not to say, particularly for smaller games, right? Yeah. Getting that great review for in the same way, I was thinking about this in the context of theater too, where like it used to be the New York Times could like close a show with a review or really elevate a show. And that's, not how it works anymore. Unless you get a rave review in the Times and you're like in a 100-seat theater somewhere. Like they can sell out your show by doing that. And I think that's the similar way to think about games journalism is they can certainly through reviews elevate something that you might not have heard of. And they can certainly through pretty bad reviews lead to a bunch of people getting laid off. But the idea that they're doing
those people are getting laid off anyway. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make a 10 out of 10 and still get laid off, actually. But, yeah.
And also the idea that, like, this game and Crimson Desert are actually being judged on the same basis.
Or that it's they seem to think of IGN as, like, that's a guy. Yeah. Mr. IGN.
Yeah.
Ian George Newton, the guy who runs IGN.
Yeah.
It's like, no. There's actually a different person wrote the Crimson Desert review as the Mixtape review, actually.
Yeah.
And that just, like, doesn't compute. It's like, how did IGN give this a 7, but this a 9? It's like, I don't know. It was 2 people.
Yeah. It's not objective.
It's not objective.
I read plenty of interesting actual critique of Mixtape. I suspect that this would be a game that I would think was interesting, but that I don't know. I've been consuming a lot of like teenage media lately. I've seen like teenage girl plays are very hot in New York City right now. I've been thinking about the teen games that I've played recently, and yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how like, oh, like my teendom was Consume Me. And it wasn't like I'm driving around with my friends planning a road trip. Like I did plenty of fun stuff with friends, but it was all in the context of like, I've got things to do. And so like these kinds of stories or like these kinds of particularly teenage cringe stories just don't like personally resonate with me in the way they did with that IGN writer.
I have Mixtape on my list to, like, in December, try to get around to stuff that was interesting this year that I did not play at the time. I remember seeing the Mixtape trailer, the first one, a few years ago, and being like, okay, a 40-year-old man made this.
Yeah. It
does give those vibes.
Yeah.
And that did, I looked at it and was like, I'm not interested in this at all, actually. Yeah. Having read about it, I think like the little mini games and some of the like very weird interaction stuff you can do is very interesting, and that's why I'm interested in playing it. The story is like, I don't care.
Still, I take issue with the assessment that this game is for 40-year-old men, and not just because that's a weird thing to say about a game that's about teenage girls. I really think that everything about this game is for teenagers now who like fake 90s stuff.
Sure.
Like, I really think that's who this game is for.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what was behind the goal of, like, not really setting it in a specific place of the 90s, to the point where, you know, I've seen people complain that some of like the slang and references and stuff is even like 2000s.
Yeah.
Like way beyond what they like way beyond what kids would be saying.
Yeah.
At that time. But I think that's the goal, and maybe they could have maybe even pushed it even further to make that clear to people to who that was bothering them, but it does feel like they're trying to set it in a time, but out of time, to sort of speak to sort of this teenage ennui that repeats in a way. And like, I get that, but it is definitely, I mean, it's for the teenagers who are feeling that way, and it's for 40-year-old men, and the people in between, which is me, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Do you think all this helped their sales or hurt?
Help.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, people had to buy it to complain about it.
Do you think this is my astroturfing conspiracy theory? Do you think the IGN editor was like, let's make sure we make this a 10 out of 10?
No.
Like, after they got the review, right? They were like, I know that you're kind of leaning maybe a 9 here, but
we gotta do the 10. No, but that is funny.
Yeah. That's the only astroturfing I would believe, that someone went, perhaps I can get some page views out of this. I have to call out that Polygon, well, one, they had a cool review that was a playlist of its own, which I always appreciate when there's like weird review structure. That's fun. But two, they had an article where they were like, it's probably too toxic a game to be nominated for Game of the Year now. And I have to say, if I were Jeff at the Jeffies, and this game was in my Game of the Year pool, I would remove it.
I think that there are too many games that are big coming out this year for Mixtape to have a chance of getting in there.
I
agree.
I'm being honest.
But also,
it'll
be nominated for Best Indie, and we can talk about that again.
I think if I were Jeff, I would say, I'm gonna exercise some veto power here. I'm not equipped to deal with this.
The Game Awards orchestra can't play any of this.
Well, that too. I didn't even think about the I've got to get the music licenses for my stream here. But I would say, I don't know. I don't want to invite the Gamergators to the gates.
They're already there.
I don't want to have to get my sci-fi nuclear bomb on them to get this in shape.
All right. Any last thoughts on Mixtape?
Yeah, maybe I'll play it. But I've read so much about it now that I'm sort of like, maybe I'll just play WarioWare, you know? Or Rhythm Heaven. Maybe I'll just play Rhythm Heaven. I realize it's not the same at all.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's so sure. Why not? It sort of is. I'd like to see. I watched a movie called Happy End this year. Probably the only coming of age story I've seen that feels like it's for the present day. I'd like to see more coming of age stories that are for the present day.
But that's hard because then you have to make it while you're going through it, and that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not hard, but maybe we can stop going to the 90s.
Actually, in games, realistically, it's hard because it takes years to make a game.
Right.
So,
I mean, Happy End is set in the near future, so that's sort of what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, thoughts on Mashup here?
I mean, it is funny to think about, him listening to Mad World and Evanescence. And, could you make, a mixtape that's, purely, really sad emo songs?
That'd be awesome. I think people would respond to that.
It is just a bummer.
Like a teen soldier game.
Yeah, like a teen child. I mean, there's tons of teen soldier games if you think about it. But specifically, a child soldier game where they have a mixtape that they're listening to. Great.
They've put it together, they've saved a few CDs. It's like The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
They've, put it together from the few things they've saved.
I think there's something there, like a post-apocalyptic story about, rediscovering and reinventing music.
Yep.
And, bands. I mean, it's probably already been done several times. That sounds like something that people would do, but we could do it again. That's fine. Mixtape?
We could do it again.
Mixtape is just doing things again, right? So
yeah.
That's keeping in the spirit.
Correct. And at the end of the game, you open the door and there's a man with a chainsaw bayonet and cut to black.
Well, no, one of your band members, their guitar needs to also be a chainsaw.
Awesome. Yeah, you make music out of turn your weapons into music.
Yeah, it's very inspirational.
That's interesting.
We are the world kind of stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly the tone of these games. We are the world. I think that's decent. I don't think there's a much better way to do it. I mean, you could just do it's a shooter with some licensed music, but and that would be fun, but
you're taming the aliens with the power of music rather than shooting them.
That's interesting. I could see that to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Might struggle to find an audience.
What is the Double Fine game with Jack Black?
Brutal Legend.
Brutal Legend. Yeah.
Yeah, it is sort of Brutal Legend. And
alternatively,
Jack Black is the one human being who never needs any context for me.
Yeah. He's there in the game.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, if you rock out hard enough, the aliens' heads explode because they just can't comprehend the power of music.
Route and
Yeah.
music violence route.
Sure, yeah. It's Undertale now, too.
Uh-huh. And yeah, it takes place underground.
Yeah.
Just like in Gears of War and in Undertale.
And in Undertale. Sure.
You might be able to do something too with like some kind of game that takes teenage life and reframes it as like in the spirit of some of the little mini games in Mixtape being not 100% reality based, right?
Yeah.
Like capturing the feeling. You could probably do something with like the idea of like being a teenager in high school and whatever being kind of a war.
Yeah.
Probably something to that. Although, as I say that, a game which suggests that teenage problems equate to using a machine gun is maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't live in a world where that metaphor.
Yeah, I think that would get us some controversy.
But I think that would generate some good controversial press.
There you go.
Now, I just need an astroturfing campaign. And I'm golden.
The kids wandering through the halls. Hey man, you ever think about how our schools are designed like cover shooters?
Well,
no.
On that note, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
What would you put, if you were designing a mixtape-based game, what songs would be non-negotiables for you, no matter how expensive the rights were or complicated to get? If you were doing Gears 6, what would it be about? Are you excited for the Gears prequel? Is it selling you on buying an Xbox? Do you understand what Xbox is doing with their business strategy? Do you understand what the staff of Annapurna Interactive looks like these days? If you have thoughts on this or answers to this, on anything or anything else we talked about this week, hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat, and read our blog. But most importantly, if you enjoyed the show, you ought to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts Online on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, wherever you can find podcasts. Go ahead and subscribe to Talk This so you never miss an episode on Sundays. Next week, it's Emma's side quest, right? Yep. But what are we talking about in 2 weeks, when it will be August?
In 2 weeks, for our old game, we're talking about Soul Calibur.
Sure.
And for our new game, we're talking about Marathon.
Is that a walking simulator?
You do walk in Marathon.
Then yes. Well, look forward to that. Thank you all so much for listening. That's our show. Emma, sign us off.
This week, I hope that all your music cues are perfectly timed.